Hello Wacom family, this is going to be the first of a few tutorials in which I want to try to give you some kind of an overview on how to draw the human head. And in this first episode, before we get into the details like eyes and nose and so on, let's have a look at the head shape. So let's get started. First of all, you may expect this. We start with a circle. And this circle, obviously, it's not a circle, it is a sphere. And from the sphere, I want to cut two slices away, one of each side. If you want, you can imagine an apple. And if I cut out one slice from this apple, this kind of elliptical shape will appear, same as with our cut out area here. One more thing to know is if you look at the head from above, our two cuts should not be exactly parallel, but slightly narrower toward the nose. And if I look at the face from the front, this is the reason I can see these two elliptical areas. And the height of my cuts should be about 2/3 of the height of my whole sphere. So let's have a look if I did accidentally right. Okay, the right one is a bit too large. The left one looks pretty spot on. Looks okay to me. So now we can erase these parts of the sphere here. We don't need them anymore because we have cut them away. Next thing we need is a cross on each cut out area on both sides. This will be important especially later when we will turn the head. We also need the center line for the symmetry. Also, we need to connect the edges of our cut out areas in order to get these two subdivisions here. To get the final height of the face now, I only have to add one more of these subdivision heights down here. And these are already the most important guidelines for my face. The upper one is called the hairline. This is the line where the hair starts, if there is still hair, of course. The second one is the brow line. This is the line which my eyebrows should hit. Third one is the nose line. This is for the bottom of the nose. And this last guideline, of course, is for the chin. Now, the last thing to do is to define my chin. And I decide to go with a pretty small chin here. And now I can start from these points down at my cut out areas. I go a little bit from here depending on how strong I want my jaw to be. And then I can connect it to the chin. And that's already the whole head shape. So now I've built a little really basic 3D model only to show how these forms react if I turn the head. So maybe let's turn it to the right, and as you can see, the ellipses get a bit wider. The right one hides behind the sphere. So let's see if we can construct this. Here's my sphere, this is my cut. I draw in my cross again and already continue my cross line to the right. Then I follow with these lines from the cut. And now I want to draw in my center line. And as you can see, my center line is of course not a straight line anymore, but it also forms a kind of an ellipse. So my center line will look maybe like this. But now from this point at the brow line, I'm not going to follow the sphere anymore, but I want to go straight down. Maybe it's not always perfectly straight. I can go a bit outward also if I want to have a more evil chin. But I think I would go with a bit softer chin, so I go slightly inwards with my center line. Now I have here my 3 areas again, so I can find out the chin line and finally connect this chin to the jaw, and I'm done with this also. So now let's try a profile view. This means my cutout area will now become a perfect circle because we see it straight from the side. And my center line will move to the edge of the face. Just connect the chin on the jaw and profile view done. Now maybe let's try a bit more complicated perspective. So what happens if I turn the head to the right and also downwards? Let's see if we can construct this. Our sphere always stays the same. It doesn't matter where I turn a sphere, it always continues being a sphere. And the same goes for my cutout areas. These only tell me that my head is turned to the right. But to define that the head is looking downwards, I need to turn the cross. So as you can see now, the cross is turned downwards. And not only the horizontal line changes, but also the vertical line. Here is my center line again. And now if I want to draw in my brow line here, if you watch these 2 lines, you will recognize that there appears a kind of a corner here. You can find this corner by feel if you touch the edge of your eyebrow. So these guidelines, if the head is turned down, will look maybe like this. Of course, the corner appears in all of these guidelines. And here's one small trap maybe about the center line. Because if I want to continue my center line from the brow line, I want it to go parallel to the vertical cross line of my cutout area. So now my center line does not go straight down, but it goes something like this. And one little thing for the chin, because the head is turned to the right as before, I should take care that my chin line here is a bit shorter on the right side than on the left, because my head is turned to the right and therefore I will see more of the chin on the left side. Okay, now lastly I want to do the opposite than before. This means I want to turn the head again to the right, but now upwards. So my cross is pointing upwards now. I draw my center line as always, and here's my corner for the brow line, and the hairline is now behind the sphere, so now we can't even see it because it's hidden behind the head. But it doesn't matter, I can transfer the distance for the chin also from here. Let's just continue the center line again, parallel to the vertical cross line. And I've got my 3 areas. Here will be my chin. And now something new happens, because let's connect the jaw to the chin again. And as you can see now, my chin is higher than the jaw. And that's the reason something new happens, because before we always had this kind of a U shape at the chin, and now we get a turned U because we look at the chin from underneath. And what we also need here, maybe I can show you here at the profile view, If I draw a bit of the neck also, you can see this plane under the chin. And if we look at that from underneath, we should draw in this plane, of course. Otherwise, the head would have a hole under the chin. And who wants to have a hole under his chin? Okay, we are pretty much done with these constructions now. But before I finish these head shapes, I want to add just a few easy markings. And for this, I divide these two areas into 3 equal parts. So now I finally get all the guidelines that I need for the head shape. Let's maybe start with the profile view. As you can see, I really trace the head. For now, begin with the back side of the head and I trace it until I reach this point at the eyebrow. Because from here I stop tracing and I go a bit inwards, because here is a valley for the eye and this valley line stops at my first marking. Now of course the nose goes to the right and mostly noses are turned upwards a bit at the bottom. From here the mouth area starts going outside again up to the next marking. This marking is for the upper lip. Now let me continue from the chin. And this marking here defines where this little crease is under the mouth. So on profile view I make this little gap here. And then there's only the lip to finish this outline. And of course this chin-jaw connection line. And one little thing also seen often in faces is the ear. The practical thing with the ears is that the height of the ear is exactly from the brow line to the nose line. And it also starts from my cross on the cut out area. So let's start a bit under the brow line, go upwards, then turn ear-like downwards and go up again a bit, and we have an ear on this head. Next one is pretty much the same. I trace the skull form until the brow line. I go inwards again until this marking height. And then of course I won't see the nose coming out here because the nose is in the middle. But on the edge of the face I will see this cheekbone. And here appears some kind of this form that goes around the outside. Then the line becomes nearly straight, maybe even a bit curved inward down to the chin. Now the ear, pretty much the same as before, but now the ear overlays the head shape a bit. And the last thing to do of course is to connect the chin and jaw, and this is done also. So in the view from above, a bit of a new thing happens because this inward line at the brow is much shorter than before. And this is because we can't see as much from this plane if we look at the head from above. The rest is pretty much the same. Now in the view from underneath, the opposite will happen with this eyebrow line, because now I can see much more of this plane under the eyebrows. And that's why I would go much longer with this eyebrow valley line. And here something new happens with this ear too, because if I follow these guidelines with my ear as before, the ear will look like an ear painted onto an earless head. The thing with the perspective of this ear is that the ear is not flat to the head, but it also stands a bit away from it. And that's why in this perspective the ear goes a bit over the guideline. So that's it regarding head shapes. Of course you can draw from many more perspectives, but I think these 4 perspectives show the whole principle pretty completely. I hope I've been able to give you an enjoyable overview of this method of constructing the head shape. And I'll see you soon in the next episode of this series. And of course, as you know, If you enjoyed this tutorial, you would be doing me a big favor if you click the like button and ring the bell. If you don't, your karma will get you.